Another test run. How's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you again. Yesterday I had the chance to speak about the state of the Latino entrepreneur. And today we'll speak about the state of Latino funding in tech. A fair bit of data again, but we'll share some of that information, that data, those numbers through the stories of two entrepreneurs, composites of our experiences here, and also three things that I want you to leave with. The first thing, and I'll tell you now, and I'll tell you throughout the presentation, I'll tell you at the end of it, but the first thing is that we need to ask for what we need to thrive, not just survive. So again, the thought of the day, one of the thoughts of the day being, ask for what you need to thrive, not just survive. And the second thing, and I'll talk more about it of course, but the second thought is create content before you're confident. And we'll talk more about that and what that looks like in pitch decks and proposals, and sharing, finding ways to create content to share what you're doing and how you're growing and how your business is growing. And the third is, how can we be 1,000 strong? How can we build a 1,000 entrepreneur strong community and track ourselves, and in a structured way, again, see who's at what stage and how can we help each other, no matter where you are, get to that next level. So we'll talk more about that. But again, talk about how do we thrive, not just survive, but ask for what we need to thrive. Talk about how we need to create content before we're confident, and also how we can be 1,000 strong as we seek funding as a community and as we share information so that we're more often, more quickly able to get our initiatives, ideas, products funded so we can grow. So as I mentioned, we'll follow two profiles, again, which are representative maybe broadly of us, and a few composite experiences. But I'll introduce you. I won't talk too much more about them. I'll introduce you. So we have Jessica. Jessica grew up in Texas, went to UT Austin, and as an engineer, worked at a local tech firm, sort of like a Cisco regionally, when she came out of college. Came to the Valley for a few years in the prior .com bubble, went back to Texas, and is now back here in Silicon Valley. She's raised seed funding for her product, for her team, and now they're looking to raise an A round. They've found product market fit, and now we're looking at how do we scale sales and marketing. So that's Jessica from Texas, 42 years old, seed funding, a lot of traction already, seeking an A round. And then we have Julian, grew up in California, LA proper, went to community college, and then transferred to UC Riverside. He was lucky, just ask him, he was lucky to have the chance to work and live in Washington, D.C. for a few years. And part of his work there was with digital tools for financial empowerment. He saw many needs nationwide, working with partners across the country. And so he decided to build his own tool, mobile focused, to help the under and unbanked, particularly Latinos. He's 30 years old. He's looking for some angel funding. He's at a small amount, but now looking for angel funding. So again, Jessica looking for VC funding. She's going to get it. And Julian looking for angel funding. Now, just to give you an idea of how much funding is out there, how many people have the ability to make a decision to invest in you, a demonstrated ability and desire to invest in people just like you. Give you some numbers. So for Jess, who again is seeking a round of VC funding, we look at that space, and last year, almost just about 1,500 deals were done. Companies received their first round of institutional funding. 1,500 deals. And on the angel side, over 70,000 startup teams were funded by angels. 70,000 in 1 year. Now, that's exciting for Julian, and it's exciting for Jess. That volume, 1,500 A-round deals, and for Julian, 70,000 angel deals. So then we look at, well, who are those people that sign those checks? And we look at, on the VC side, there are over 1,000 firms, a little bit over, and over 6,000 partners. Again, at any VC firm, as many of you know, or some of you know, there are teams of experts, analysts, domain experts, and then there are the partners, and I'll clarify this language, but folks who can make investment decisions and will sit on your board. 6,000 of these partners last year were at these firms that made investments in startups, made some of these 1,500 A-round deals. And then we look at, to give an idea again of, we always feel like there's zero, but even a small percentage of a big number, is still a relatively good number of people. So we look at, well, 6,000 partners, and even if ballpark estimates with small sample sizes point to Latinos being 1% of partners at VC firms. Well, out of 6,000 partners, that's still 60 of us. We haven't found them all. That's part of our work here at this conference. That's part of what LSA does, and all of you do nationwide is, how do we find these Latino partners, among the many other things we do. But 1,000 firms, 6,000 partners, even if it's 1%, we have 60 Latinos. Now, on the angel side, things get even more interesting. So I talked about 70,000 deals last year, angel-funded deals. 300,000 people made those investment decisions. And you say, well, one data point from CB Insights points to roughly 4% of those angels are diverse, broadly defined. And again, we'll take our 1% conservative estimate. We'll take our 1%, and out of that 300,000, that means there are over 3,000 Latino angels. Now, maybe hard to believe. I believe that with some extrapolation, and I've seen some confirmation of that at a small scale. But I'll talk to you about why I'm excited that even if it's not 3,000 angel investors now today that exist that are Latino, talk a little bit about why I think we can get there soon. And again, when we follow Jess, VC funding, Julian angel funding, we're just seeing just how many people are out there who they can engage in, just how many deals get done. And why I'm excited that I think that we could have or approach soon having multiple thousands of Latino angels. Think about it again, it's hard to find where are they. That's part of our work. But also, when I look at the numbers, I say, well, in terms of assets, as a community and at the household level, we have over 230,000 Latino households with annual income of over 200,000, which to me is a great base. Again, when we look at our entire population, it's a small percentage. But small percentages of very big numbers, and there are a lot of us, small percentages still come out to substantial sizes of a segment of a community. So 230,000 Latino households, 230,000 people that potentially they have the type of finances that Julian could ask them for money. Again, coming back to be an accredited angel investor, you need to have over multiple years, $200K in income, and or 1 million in assets. We're not quite there on the asset side, but on annual income, we're doing better. We're getting there. So, and then we look at as a community, well, how do we get these folks who are at this income bracket, who have done the things necessary and made the sacrifices and had the breaks and put the time in and the focus to get there? We say, well, how do we make sure that they invest in ourselves and themselves in our community? Well, we're starting to already do that work. Again, I'll reference Giovanni Rodriguez in Forbes talking about the Latino Angel School. And that's the Manos Accelerator, folks. Great to have you. But throughout the past year, they've been training members of our community, of the community, on how to better understand, how to find great opportunities. Great folks like yourself, where they can fund and give you the capital you need to get going and to grow. So how do we get our Latinos to become angels? We're already starting that training. Now another thought again is I try to make sure that Julian has more and more people who he can ask for money, who have the capacity to support him on the financial side, and also with their expertise. But a quick side thought is, there's also the opportunity for Julian to engage an accelerator. And depending on the terms and the environment and the focus of it, Julian can say, well, I'd like to be a part of an accelerator. Y Combinator is one that comes to mind, and Techstars as well, which has outfits in different regions across the country. But just in terms of a big number, there are over 225 accelerators nationwide that provide funding, that provide mentorship, and oftentimes office space. But again, 225 accelerators that will fund you. That's a huge ecosystem that we can develop as well, and need to better understand. Even if one of us gets in, then we'll help others. So anyway, back to Jess and Julian. Think about, well, what are some of the things that they need? Well, here's a term sheet. This is what it looks like. Some of you have created your own. Some have seen some slid across the table to you that were atrocious and horrible and you felt disrespected. But again, this is maybe the concrete manifestation of what a lot of us think of as the biggest roadblock that we face as individuals and as a community. Is how do we figure out this term sheet, the mechanics around it? So I just want to show you that. Sometimes it's best to shine a light on the boogeyman rather than not talk about him. But anyway, term sheet, and that's from, thank you, Ana Diaz, the National Venture Capital Association. Great template. Now, and when we get back to content, ways we're engaging investors, potential funders, I want to get back to an initial point I wanted to make, which is create content before you're confident. In terms of your slides, your pitch deck, in terms of an overview, a one-page summary, sometimes you'll be asked for that. Or even in terms of if you're applying an accelerator, give me an overview of your vision, your mission statement, who you're targeting as a user base. But the thought that comes to mind when I think of all these materials, deliverables, if you will, as you raise money or are part of programs that then help align you to raise money is create content before you're confident, because I've seen so many talented folks, some in this room, many not here, where they used these materials, the development of them, to procrastinate, to put off having those hard ask conversations. The pitch deck isn't ready, the slides aren't ready. No, I can't pitch in a month. I won't be ready yet. Yeah, the company's going well, really putting our head down and our grit and determination, really focusing, but I can't pitch. And I say, well, So anyway, the thought being, create content before you're confident. Don't use the necessary development of slides, the one-page overview, or any other descriptors you're asked to provide. Don't use those to procrastinate. To avoid, again, because you use it, oftentimes people will use the development of these materials as a way to procrastinate, to avoid the hard ask conversations that we all need to get better at. And we are getting better at them as we do them well. But also, I want to address a lot of the challenges many of us had as we've raised money for our initiatives, our projects, our companies. And first, I'll frame it maybe in this friendly way, but we do have unique insight. We know that through your experience, through the work you've done, through your travels, through you just being you, and everything that it took for you to get there. Here, rather, you have unique insight. Now, it also does present some unique challenges to us as we engage investors, as we pitch at events, because sometimes the models we propose are a little bit different. Sometimes we have insight around a particular customer segment that people have never seen before, and so they don't believe it. Sometimes, folks might not take us at our word. So we have unique insight, but oftentimes that means we have unique challenges when we pitch, especially. And again, I want to address this because I've gone through it myself, where if it's a 30-minute conversation, you feel like 20 or 25 minutes are just helping that person get through their own BS, through their own, I don't know, fight through their own misunderstanding and demons. And I say, well, what do you mean a wealthy Latino segment? Or what do you mean a Latina mom on their Android phone? And so as we work through that, and sometimes we feel like we're getting buried in no's. That's what I know. I've been there before, again, where you just feel like there's a barrage of no's and they keep coming faster and faster and faster. And again, I want to remind you, I saw this quote, I thought it was powerful. It goes like this. It says, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. And and I think that's true in a lot of ways. And back to a thought that folks have mentioned in terms of us being leaders, convening here, and us being flag bearers. But to me, the thought is, when they try to bury us in no's, they won't know that they didn't know. How could they know that we're seeds? Now from that, we'll sprout and share, try to extend this metaphor, our knowledge, the lessons that we've learned, and really part of that is sharing our pain with each other. And I ask you to share when it hurts. To get through to where you can be a part of sharing your knowledge, sharing those hard-earned lessons, to making sure that the next person that you know or that you mentor, that they have a little bit of that insight that you learned. So share when it hurts. Again, to that thought of create content before you're confident, I would ask that when you hurt the most, when you're most likely to shut down, that's when I ask you to share more. And it doesn't have to be a public post or a great blog. Talk to somebody in your community who you know at some point will be going through what you're going through. That's one asset I have. Again, but we'll come back. We'll come back to Jess and Julian. Jess raising her A round. Julian raising his C. Now I'll defer to, at least in the slides, and Mr. Dave McClure. Dave McClure of 500 Startups, of someone who really is looking globally to build a community of entrepreneurs and innovators. Mr. Dave McClure says, well, if you're raising an A round, here are the core things that you need to address and be able to articulate that these milestones that you've reached and exceeded them. So I look at Jess and we say, well, has Jess done these things? Well, yes, she has. And it's great with her team and her experience. She has indeed reached these milestones. And also, in regards to Julian, Mr. McClure again, Dave McClure rather. I don't want to call him Mr. and give him that kind of respect. But Julian has achieved the things that are listed for someone who's seeking to raise seed funding. And that's great for them. But I look at you and I say, well, ask yourself, have I done these things? If I'm looking to raise an A round institutional funding, have I really accomplished these things at a high level? Maybe you have. And again, I'll ask you if you have, you should find anybody in the room who's looking around now and have a great conversation and share some of how you got there. But again, ask yourself, have I done these things to raise an A round or to raise a seed where a lot of us are? Have you done these things? Now, as you think about that, we can come back to it, but I also need you to think about how much are you asking for? What are you asking for? And I won't get too much into specifics, but I think the broad thought for me is, and as I look across the room and see folks who have been successful in pitching and asking for and receiving funding from all types of partners and investors, is they really thought about, what do I need to thrive? Not what do I need to survive, because we can all do that. We can all find a number that's very small and we can make it and we can survive. But if we're confident, we don't have to do that anymore. We can continue to learn and relearn and teach ourselves that we need to ask for what we need to thrive. So think about that. And here are some heuristics. If you're at Julian's stage, C, you can look at monthly costs, and oftentimes one rule of thumb is to double that, knowing that as you're a sole or maybe sole entrepreneur or co-founder, costs will mushroom, and one norm that folks think about is monthly costs, 2x that for 18 months. So that's one heuristic. On the A round side, folks think about, for example, one heuristic, and I'm making this up right now, but one heuristic is 18 months, 18 to 24 months, so we'll round up. So 2 years of current burn rate is what you should try to raise for your A round. And again, I'm making that up, but I'll find another heuristic. So now to model that, and again, I'm approaching my time, and again, we're talking about State of Latino Affairs for funding. As for what we need to thrive, not just survive, to create content before you're confident, and we'll close with how can we be 1,000 strong of entrepreneurs and folks who ask for what we need to thrive. But now I'll come to, and I just ask you again, let's consider and learn how to ask for what do I need to thrive. So I'll model that behavior now. So I have a request of everybody in this room. And one thing that I need to thrive, among many others, hopefully a great lunch. Jesse, I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, for what I need to thrive today is I'd love to have some of you, train me on how to do due diligence. You know, I love macro overviews and understanding and pulling from wide and disparate data sets and doing maybe novel analysis at the macro level. But for me, I love to learn. For me to thrive, I need to be better. I need to learn how to do that same kind of analysis at the firm level, at the team level. Look at one startup and really understand how their business operates and do that due diligence to better understand if I'm in the position to support or know of others who are, help them understand, does it make sense to provide that support. So that's what I need to thrive. But think about for you, and as we talk and close off the event, talk to people about what do you need to thrive? Because that's really where our mind should always be, not just how do we survive, but what do we need to thrive? And the last point, and I'll get to it quickly, I see the hook, is creating, measuring an ecosystem. One way to think about it, and again, I'll refer to Mr. Dave McClure. He had a great presentation a few months ago he put out, and that's what I'm pulling directly from. I'll send the link there. I'll put that up on the slides. But how do we think about ourselves creating a standalone ecosystem that's so robust and strong that we'll feed ourselves, that there'll be entrepreneurs, advisors, and based on some great outcomes and some potential angel investors or investors broadly, how can we build that? What does that look like? Well, one model that Mr. Dave McClure proposes and lays out in the abstract goes like this. We have 1,000 baby startups, 0 to 10K funding. So 1,000 of those. We have 300 at the accelerator stage, so 10 to 100K. We'll have 100 at the seed stage, 100K to $1 million, and then 30 at the Series A and B stage, so 1 million and 10 million. 10 companies led by people like you who would be late stage. And 1 to 3 that are mature, that are 100 million plus in capital raised. And then look at, well, with that model, that's something we could do. There could be 1,000 baby startups, 300 at the accelerator level, 100 at the seed, 30 at the Series A, 10 late stage, and 1 to 3, at 100 million plus that they've raised. We could do that. We have enough people in this room to provide the backbone of that. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll come back to it, is nationwide again. When we talk about assets, what do we have? 35,000 Latino professionals who are computer scientists, software engineers, web developers. Even in these top 10 companies, only the top 10 that release their diversity numbers, that percentage-wise are very low, but in absolute numbers, that's over 2,000 Latinos at the greatest tech companies in the world, or some of the greatest. And then we have, as a reminder, 3,300 Latino CS degrees printed every year, framed, celebrated, as they should be. So then we look again at, well, we really could be that strong ecosystem with a number of individuals and leaders at every level of that development cycle of a startup and of a company, rather. But we have the talent. We're here. Now, having people make that leap is another question, but we have the infrastructure, we have the talent to create an ecosystem so strong that we can sustain ourselves. Now, the thing is, we wouldn't have to. We wouldn't have to do it alone. I know it feels like that. But all of us reach into different communities across the country, across the city, across the bay, across the world, and we bring that back to, again, our own ecosystem, with the 1,000 small, the 300 accelerate, all the way down to the 3 that have raised over $100 million. We can do it. And again, to remind you with big numbers, in terms of people that you can pitch, that are out there who gave money away this past year, there are 6,000 venture capital partners and over 300,000 angels. I will challenge us to find them, A, find ways to be introduced, B, and C, to ask for what you need to thrive, not just survive. I know we got a bit away from them, but I'll come back to Jess and Julian. Guess what? They did raise the money. These stories have I guess it's not a happy ending. It's more a happy close to a chapter and the beginning of a new one. But Jess, she raised her A round, took 4 pivots. She lived in her car for 2 months. But now a top 5 VC firm led her A round. Some Latino angels. And now she has about, hopefully, 24 months, 2 years of runway to really show that she's built a scalable business. And Julian, he did raise the money for his financial empowerment mobile product. A little bit of foundation money. A little bit from a corporate, not an accelerator, but kind of a program working to help have technologists leverage their own data. But he kept ownership. It was tough. But anyway, he got foundation money. He got money, corporate money, earmarked for innovators like himself. And he got a bit of funding, a small bit, from a premier VC firm who usually takes larger bets, but they knew him, or they got to know him, and they felt like he could be part of the portfolio and really benefit from the community of entrepreneurs that they built. So Jess did it. Julian did it. You can do it. And again, part of the way I think we can get there is ask for what you need to thrive, not just survive. Create content and share it before you're confident. And let's continue to work and think through how we can be 1,000 strong, track, serve, help, and support each other. So I'm excited for the year ahead, and as you raise funding, more funding, or your first round of funding, again, we're here to support you and ask. Others have done it. Many of us have failed many times. So there's a lot for us to learn from each other. Thank you very much.